The moment she appeared. I used to believe that weddings were sacred, a day when love stood flawless, untouched by the memories of the past. A day for soft music, trembling vows, and the kind of joy people said could heal old wounds. But on my wedding day, joy didn't heal anything. It shattered. My name is Clara, and I married a man I thought loved me beyond reason, Jonathan Hale, a man with a calm voice, a gentle smile, and a family name carved into the pillars of the city like ancient scripture. The Hales weren't just wealthy, they were legendary. Old money, white glove, whisper quiet kind of powerful. The type who never raised their voices because they were too used to watching the world kneel first. I spent months telling myself Jonathan wasn't like them. I repeated it until it sounded true. But that illusion died the moment I walked into the hall, hand in hand with him, hearing applause echo around us right as she appeared. His ex. Tall. Dark red dress. Hair curled like she'd stepped out of a magazine. And her eyes, fixed directly on him, gleaming with a knowledge I did not have. Her lips curled into the faintest smile, one that spoke without words. He still belongs to me. Jonathan's hand tensed in mine. Not a flinch. Not a twitch. A tension. I noticed. Of course I noticed. Because women always notice the way a man reacts to another woman, especially one who once had his heart. I squeezed his hand. He didn't squeeze back. The woman no one invited. Her name was Alicia Renford. I didn't know her, but I knew of her, the kind of story you overhear in hushed tones at cafes, between women stirring coffee like they're dissolving secrets. She was the perfect ex everyone compared themselves to. The kind with beauty that intimidated men and insulted women. The kind who left without closure. The kind whose ghost lingered in every room Jonathan walked into. But she was not invited. I knew because I triple-checked the list. So how did she walk into my wedding, smiling like she'd been waiting for her cue? I leaned closer to Jonathan in front of everyone, whispering. Why is she here? Jonathan didn't answer. He didn't have to. His silence told a story I wasn't ready for. The lingering stares. The ceremony went on, because weddings are machines, once they start, they don't stop. Guests shifted in their seats, cameras clicked, people cried. But all I saw, all I felt, was Alicia. She looked at Jonathan like she owned a chapter of his life I had no right to read. Right before we exchanged vows, I caught her wiping a tear from her eye. A tear she made sure I saw. Jonathan noticed too. He swallowed hard, his voice wavering on the first line of his vows. And in that moment, a cold truth settled in my chest. I was not just marrying a man. I was marrying his ghosts. The secret message. It happened during the reception. While guests danced, while champagne flowed, while laughter coated the room like warm honey, Alicia approached the table. Not mine. His. She placed a small white envelope in Jonathan's lap with a slow, deliberate grace. Not hiding it. Not rushing. Claiming it. I stood a few feet away, speaking with his mother, but my eyes never left them. Jonathan froze. Alicia whispered something into his ear. He nodded. Nodded. Like a guilty man accepting instructions from the one person who could ruin him. When she walked away, Jonathan slipped the envelope inside his jacket. I confronted him instantly. What did she give you? He straightened up, forcing a smile. Clara, please. Don't start anything today. Start anything? My stomach twisted. The man who had promised me honesty now guarded secrets on our wedding night. I stepped closer, lowering my voice. Either you tell me, or I walk out of here right now. For the first time that night, Jonathan's expression cracked, not anger, not fear. Guilt. Real, unmistakable guilt. But instead of explaining, he kissed my forehead and said, Later. Later. As if betrayal could wait. The whispered warnings. The first warning came from the last person I expected. His sister. Evelyn Hale was always calm, proper, painfully polite. Too polished for her age. But that night, her mask slipped. She pulled me aside near the back of the hall, her fingers trembling as she held her drink. Clara. If Alicia is here, you need to be careful. Careful? The word tasted like poison. Why? What is going on? She hesitated, glancing around like the walls had ears. Alicia didn't walk away from Jonathan. Jonathan ended things because of our father. And she didn't take it well. I frowned. She's still in love with him? Evelyn shook her head slowly. No. It's worse than that. Her voice dropped to a whisper. She blames you for everything. My pulse throbbed. What do you mean, everything? But before she could answer, Mrs. Hale, stone-faced and elegant, called her daughter away with a single icy look. Evelyn left, her unfinished warning hanging like a blade over my head. I suddenly felt small. Exposed. Targeted. And very, very alone. Alicia strikes. I found out what was inside that envelope sooner than I expected. Jonathan disappeared for 15 minutes during the reception. 15 minutes on our wedding night. Guests joked about nervous grooms, my bridesmaids offered me wine, but my intuition screamed. When he returned, his face had gone pale. He kept scanning the room, searching for her. Not for me. That was the moment something inside my chest snapped quietly, like a thread pulled too tight. But the real blow came 40 minutes later, when my maid of honor, Helena, came rushing toward me, breathless. Clara, don't panic, but someone posted something about Jonathan. I froze. Posted what? She handed me her phone. A social media post. From Alicia. A picture of her and Jonathan, from 2 weeks ago. Smiling. Matching coats. Standing too close. Caption. Some connections don't break, no matter what lies people use to destroy them. The comments exploded. People asking why he was meeting his ex weeks before his wedding. People tagging me. People speculating. My head spun. My chest tightened. My legs weakened. 2 weeks ago, Jonathan told me he was at a family business meeting. A lie. A clean, practiced lie. On my wedding day, Alicia didn't just show up. She brought a bomb. And Jonathan handed her the matches. The confession. I didn't wait for the cake. I didn't wait for the toasts. I didn't wait for the dancing. I dragged Jonathan to a private room, locked the door, and faced him with the phone in my shaking hand. He didn't deny it. He didn't even try. He just sat down, running a trembling hand through his hair. Clara. I swear, it wasn't what it looks like. I laughed. A bitter, choking laugh. Then tell me exactly what it is. He stalled. I pressed harder. He cracked. She said she would ruin something important if I didn't meet her. So you did. He nodded helplessly. She threatened to expose a deal my father is making, something that could destroy our family's company. My breath hitched. So you protected them and lied to me. His silence told the truth. I walked to the far side of the room, my wedding dress brushing the carpet like a ghost's gown. I turned back, voice cold as the marble under our feet. Do you love her? His eyes widened. No. God, no. Clara, she's dangerous. She's unstable. She. A sharp knock cut him off. A familiar voice. Alicia's. Jonathan? We need to talk, now. Jonathan closed his eyes, defeated. I understood everything in that moment. This wasn't jealousy. This wasn't longing. This wasn't a love triangle. This was a trap. One I was dragged into. But they underestimated me. They thought love had made me weak. They forgot that betrayal makes women dangerous. The revenge begins. My revenge didn't begin with rage. It began with a plan. A calm, methodical plan, because the worst kind of fury is the kind that smiles. I unlocked the door. Jonathan tried to stop me. But I smiled sweetly and said, "It's fine. Let's hear what she wants." Alicia was standing there with the confidence of a woman who thought she'd already won. And that was her mistake. Because she didn't see the storm forming behind my eyes. Not yet. But she would. And when I was done, Alicia Renford would wish she had never walked into my wedding. Or into my life. Or near the man who would soon learn that betraying me was the last mistake he would ever make. 3 of us in a room built for 2. Alicia stepped inside the private suite slowly, like the room belonged to her. The audacity would have been amusing if it weren't happening on my wedding day. She glanced at me once, barely, before locking her full attention on Jonathan. "We need to finalize our discussion." Her voice was soft, silky, too calm. The kind of calm that comes only when someone believes they have absolute power. I leaned against the edge of the vanity table, arms crossed. "Whatever you have to say," I said smoothly, "you can say it in front of me." Jonathan looked between us anxiously. But Alicia simply smiled. "I prefer private conversations. And I prefer honesty," I replied. "Especially from my husband." Alicia's eyes flickered with amusement. "Your husband?" She tilted her head. "Is that what you think he is?" Jonathan tensed. I didn't blink. Alicia took a step closer, her heels tapping the polished floor like a countdown. "Jonathan and I," she said slowly, "have unfinished business." I smiled politely. "Then finish it. Right now." She blinked. For the first time, Alicia looked, caught off guard. "Good. Very good." I wanted her rattled. Jonathan exhaled shakily. "Alicia, please don't." "Don't what?" she snapped. "Don't tell your wife that you came running the moment I said I'd ruin your father's little project?" Jonathan's jaw clenched. She turned toward me with a regretful sigh. "Clara, dear, I'm not here to fight with you. I actually pity you." I smiled again. It was the smile a snake gives before striking. "No need to pity me. You'll need it for yourself soon." Her brow lifted. The games had begun. A secret worth ruining lives. Alicia rounded the room, pacing like a lecturer preparing a lesson. "Let me make this simple," she said. "Jonathan's father is trying to acquire a tech company illegally. It's fraud, it's risky, and if I release the documents I have, the Hale family collapses. Overnight." I didn't breathe. Not because of the crime. But because Jonathan hadn't denied it. "So," she continued, "I told your husband I would keep silent if he met with me. And if he gave me something I deserved." Jonathan swallowed hard. "She wants money, Clara." "Blackmail." Alicia's lips curved. "Not money." She looked at Jonathan with a slow, confident hunger. "I want him to marry me." Silence slammed into the room. A cold, horrified silence. I stared at her, unable to hide the pure disgust twisting through me. "You want a man who left you?" She smiled sadly. "He didn't leave me. His father forced him. And he went along with it." Jonathan whispered, "Alicia, stop." Her voice sharpened. "You would still be mine if not for your family." Then she looked at me. "You think he chose you?" She shook her head. "You were convenient. Obedient. From a background they could control." Her words sliced me open, but only enough to awaken something cold and powerful. "Alicia," I said quietly, "even if what you're saying is true, why involve me?" Her eyes flashed. "Because he still loves me." Jonathan's face went gray. "Alicia, that's not." She cut him off with a single raised hand. "Jonathan. I gave you a chance. You chose to run and marry someone your family approved of." Then her gaze locked onto mine, sharp, burning, venomous. So I've decided I'm not only going to take him back. I'm going to destroy you while doing it. My heart didn't break. It froze. And with that freeze came clarity. Alicia Renford didn't just want revenge. She wanted to erase me. And she thought I'd stand there and let her. She had miscalculated. The moment I stopped being a bride, Jonathan stepped between us. Alicia, I don't love you. I don't want you. This has to stop. Alicia's laugh was soft, cruel, and confident. You think this is about love? Then she pulled her phone from her purse. I have everything documented. Screenshots. Emails. A recording of your father offering bribes. Pictures of you meeting me 2 weeks ago. Jonathan's face drained of color. She waved the phone in front of me. All I have to do is press send. Then her voice dropped to a whisper. Unless you walk away from her. So that was the real game. She didn't want him back. She wanted to win. Wanted to watch me crumble in my wedding dress. My decision crystallized in that moment. I straightened my shoulders, lifted my chin, and spoke with a calmness that wasn't natural but born of survival. Alicia, if you want a war, choose a weapon. Her smile flickered. Jonathan stared at me in shock. Alicia recovered quickly. Fine, she said. Let's see how long your perfect day lasts. Then she walked out. But not before whispering in Jonathan's ear. You'll regret marrying her. I placed a hand over my chest, feeling my heartbeat slow, harden. I had been humiliated. Disrespected. Lied to. But I wasn't broken. No. I was awakening. When the door closed, Jonathan turned toward me. His voice shook. Clara. I am so sorry. I didn't look at him. My voice was steady. Too steady. I'm going to fix this, Jonathan. But not for you. He blinked. For who, then? I looked him in the eyes. For me. A bride with a mission. I sent Jonathan back into the reception hall. Why? Because the best revenge begins in silence. I needed time. Space. A moment to think. And I knew Alicia would watch him, obsessively, to see if he followed her instructions. Let her watch him. Because she wasn't watching me. I left the private suite and slipped into a side corridor, breathing in cold, still air scented faintly of flowers and fresh paint. This wasn't how a wedding day should feel. But it was exactly how a war begins. I checked my reflection in a hallway mirror. Mascara intact. Lipstick perfect. Eyes sharp. Good. Let Alicia think she could ruin me. She had no idea who she was dealing with. I pulled out my phone and dialed the one person Jonathan feared more than Alicia. His mother. The real power of the Hale family. Mrs. Hale answered on the third ring. Her voice was crisp and cool. Clara? Is something wrong? I didn't sugarcoat anything. I told her everything. Alicia. The threats. The evidence. The blackmail. When I finished, there was silence. A chilling silence. Finally. Meet me in the garden. Alone. I walked outside into the cold night air. Mrs. Hale stood near the fountain, tall, elegant, dangerous in her stillness. Her eyes met mine. Not with pity. With calculation. You did the right thing telling me. I nodded. She stepped closer. Alicia is a problem. And Jonathan was a fool to meet her. But you. Her eyes sharpened. You have potential. Potential? I didn't understand. Mrs. Hale clasped her hands behind her back. Do you know why we approved you for this marriage? I swallowed hard. Because you thought I was controllable? A faint smile touched her lips. Because we thought you were strong. That surprised me. Alicia is reckless, she continued. Emotional. A liability. But you came to me instead of falling apart. Then she said the one sentence that changed everything. Help us destroy her. My breath caught. Mrs. Hale leaned in. Stand with this family, Clara, and we will stand with you. You will not be the bride he married today. She placed a hand on my arm. You will be the woman who saves us. The cold night air thickened around us. And for the first time since Alicia walked in, I felt something powerful settle into my bones. Not love. Not rage. Purpose. I looked back toward the glowing windows of the reception hall. The music. The lights. The oblivious guests. Alicia thought she had me cornered. But she had just placed me in the lion's den. And made the lions choose me. The strategy of a new woman. I stood beside Mrs. Hale in the crisp night air, staring at the glowing reception hall where laughter floated through the windows like nothing had happened. Inside there was music, wine, happy guests. Outside, there was war. Mrs. Hale's voice was calm and controlled, each word chosen like a weapon she had mastered years ago. Alicia thinks she is dealing with a lovesick bride, she said. But this family does not lose to tantrums or heartbreak. Her eyes locked onto mine. If she wants to play with fire, let her burn. I didn't recognize myself in that moment. Not the quiet woman who tried to build a peaceful, honest relationship. Not the hopeful bride who believed in love and vows and forever. Something inside me shifted. Solidified. Sharpened. I wasn't Jonathan's bride anymore. I was a strategist. A survivor. A woman preparing for war. Mrs. Hale handed me a folded card. Go to this room in the East Wing. I took it, confused. What's there? Her expression didn't change. Insurance. A slow chill crept through me. On Alicia? On everyone. She turned away. Remember, Clara, in this family, we do not play nice. We play smart. I stood alone in the garden for a moment, letting the weight of her words settle in my bones. Then I walked back inside. And every step felt like stepping deeper into a game I was finally ready to win. The room of truth. The East Wing was quiet, too quiet. The hallway lights glowed dimly, painting long shadows on marble floors. I reached the room number written on the card. The door wasn't locked. Inside was a private study. Dark wood. Floor-to-ceiling shelves. A single lamp illuminating stacks of files. On the desk lay a folder labeled simply. AR. My stomach twisted. Alicia Renford. I opened it. And what I saw changed everything I thought I knew. Documents. Photos. Recorded statements. Background checks. Financial inconsistencies. Medical records highlighting treatment for narcissistic personality disorder, compulsive lying, and obsession patterns. And at the bottom, a restraining order filed by Jonathan's father months before Jonathan met me. Alicia had stalked the family. Threatened them. Intercepted business emails. Stolen documents. She wasn't a jealous ex. She was a weapon. A weapon with no loyalty, no boundaries, and no conscience. A woman who didn't want Jonathan. A woman who wanted to own him. And she had almost succeeded until Jonathan's parents intervened and forced their son to cut ties. My pulse raced as I flipped through the pages. Everything Alicia claimed. Everything she accused him of. Everything she believed was unfinished business. It was all a delusion. A dangerous, calculated delusion designed to keep her inside Jonathan's life forever. But the worst part? Jonathan never told me. Not any of it. He had tried to handle everything alone and failed. Failed as a partner. Failed as a man. Failed as someone who claimed to love me. Still, this wasn't the time to unravel emotionally. I snapped the folder closed. I no longer wanted to be Jonathan's protected bride. I wanted to be Alicia's final nightmare. The first strike. When I returned to the reception hall, everything looked painfully normal. My guests laughed, unaware. Jonathan's groomsmen danced, drunk and oblivious. My bridesmaids lined up for photos, champagne in hand. Music twirled through glittering lights and polished floors. Everything sparkled. Too much. Then I spotted her. Alicia. Sitting at the bar with a glass of wine, legs crossed elegantly, scanning the room with smug satisfaction. Her posture screamed victory. As if she was waiting to see me fall apart. I didn't fall. I walked directly toward her. Her smile sharpened. Come to cry, bride? I sat beside her, calmly, quietly. No, I said, I came to tell you that you made a mistake. She raised an eyebrow. Oh. And what mistake is that? I turned to face her fully. You underestimated the wrong woman. Across the hall, Mrs. Hale watched us. Not with worry, but with approval. Alicia laughed under her breath. Clara, sweetie, you're new to this world. You think love protects you? Power protects you? You have neither. I leaned in slightly. Is that why you stole confidential documents? Her lips stilled. A flicker. Just a flicker of panic in her eyes. Got her. You think Jonathan told me? I continued. Now her eyes widened. Just a little. Enough. You think the Hales don't collect evidence? Alicia's grip on her wineglass tightened. I held her gaze. Cold. Steady. Unbreakable. You should leave. Before the only thing left of you is a police record. Her breath caught. For the first time, Alicia Renford looked afraid. But she tried to hide it. You think you can threaten me, she whispered. I smiled. No. I don't threaten. I leaned close enough for her to feel the steel in my voice. I finish. The night begins to crack. Alicia stood abruptly, almost knocking over her glass. She walked out of the hall, fast. Not elegant. Not composed. Not victorious. Panicked. And every eye turned toward her. Jonathan caught my eye from across the room, confusion and fear mixing on his face. He knew something had changed. Something inside me. He started walking toward me, but Mrs. Hale stepped in front of him, placing a firm hand on his chest and shaking her head. Not yet. Let Clara work. I didn't feel like a bride anymore. I felt like a queen holding the final card in a collapsing empire. The room went silent at Mason's words. Not the kind of silence that comes from peace, no. It was the sharp, suffocating kind that suffocates the air, thick enough to choke on. My heart tripped in my chest. Madeline blinked slowly, her lips parting, her eyes flickering with a kind of cold calculation that told me she expected this moment, but not in this way. Not at this scale. Not with this many eyes watching. Explain, she hissed under her breath, stepping closer to Mason, her perfectly manicured fingers gripping his arm like claws. Mason stepped back. Actually stepped back from her. That alone was enough to send a murmur through the hall. I owe her the truth, he said quietly, glancing at me, not with affection, not with longing, not with guilt. But with fear. The kind of fear a man gets when he realizes the game he's played has spun out of his control. Madeline's eyes widened at the sight of his fear. Don't do this, she warned. Not here. But Mason exhaled shakily, and for the first time since I'd known him, he didn't look calculating or composed. He looked like a man who had run out of lies to hide behind. She needs to know, he said. No, Madeline snapped, voice low and dangerous. She doesn't. My mother stood abruptly from her table, the scrape of her chair dragging across the floor echoing through the hall. She absolutely does, Mom said, stepping closer with a storm blazing in her eyes. Madeline's attention snapped to her. You stay out of this, she muttered. Mom smirked. Oh sweetheart, she said, you really picked the wrong family to lie to. A few guests gasped. Mason swallowed hard. I clutched my bouquet tighter, petals trembling in my hands. Say it, I whispered. Mason's gaze dropped to the floor. I lied to you, he said. I lied about everything. A cold wave washed over my skin. Madeline panicked. I could see it in the way she licked her lips, the way her fingers twitched, the way she moved slightly to Mason's side as if she could physically block the truth from escaping. But it was already too late. What did you lie about? I asked, voice shaking. Mason closed his eyes. The breakup, he said softly. The reason we got engaged so quickly. The business trip I took last month. The late-night calls. Everything. My throat tightened. Madeline's eyes darted nervously across the crowd, every angle closing in on her, every whispered murmur growing stronger, sharper, more accusing. Mason, she said, grabbing his arm again. He shook her off. And then he said it. The sentence that cracked the night apart like glass shattering on marble. Madeline was pregnant. The room gasped. My knees buckled slightly. Pregnant? Madeline froze, her expression terrifyingly blank. She lost the baby, Mason added quietly. 2 months before our wedding. Something inside me snapped so hard I could physically feel it. My bouquet fell from my hands. The flowers hit the floor with a soft, humiliating thud. You were still with her? I whispered. All of the pieces, the late texts, the secrecy, the defensiveness, they all rearranged themselves into a horrifying picture. Yes, he whispered. Up until 3 weeks before I proposed. 3 weeks. My vision blurred. Madeline laughed, brittle, hysterical, unhinged. Oh come on, she said loud enough for everyone to hear. Don't act shocked. Did you really think he chose you? You were always the backup plan. The safe choice. The quiet little wife who would never question him. I felt the world tilt. Madeline's smile grew crueler. He only proposed because I lost the baby, she said. Isn't that right, Mason? He didn't deny it. My heart ruptured. But before I could crumble, something unexpected happened. My sister, usually soft-spoken, gentle, the peacekeeper of the family, stepped between me and them with a rage I didn't know she possessed. You disgusting people, she snarled. How dare you use her like a spare tire? How dare you walk in here and try to humiliate her on her own wedding day? Do you have any idea who you're dealing with? Madeline rolled her eyes. Oh please. But she didn't get to finish. Because my father, silent, stoic, strong, stepped forward next. His jaw clenched, his fists tight, his eyes sharp enough to cut stone. You two used my daughter, he said, voice deep and controlled. And whether that pregnancy claim is true or just another manipulative story you two cooked up, you clearly plan to embarrass her today. His gaze hardened. Now I want you both out. Madeline scoffed. You can't kick us out. This isn't your. It's mine, the venue manager interrupted, suddenly appearing with 2 large security guards. And I don't tolerate dramatic stunts that ruin my property's reputation. Madeline's face drained of color. But. You heard him, Dad said coldly. Leave. Mason tried to speak, but security already moved toward them. The crowd parted, whispering, staring, recording. Madeline hissed at Mason as they were escorted out like criminals. Do something. But Mason didn't. He just looked at me, the guilt on his face almost pathetic. I'm sorry, he whispered. I didn't respond. I couldn't. And just like that. They were gone. The doors slammed behind them. A suffocating quiet filled the room again, but this time, it wasn't painful. It was expectant. Waiting. Waiting for me. For my reaction. For my strength. For my next move. My chest rose and fell shakily. My mother stepped beside me, her hand warm and steady on my back. "You don't have to stay," she whispered. "You don't have to explain. You don't have to pretend. You don't even have to cry yet. We can go home. We can leave this whole mess behind." I swallowed through the tightness in my throat. But something shifted inside me. A slow-burning heat rising from the ruins. Not sadness. Not despair. Not humiliation. But clarity. Resolve. My voice was quiet, but it didn't tremble. "Mom," I whispered. "I'm not leaving." My mother blinked. "Sweetheart." I lifted my chin. "They ruined the wedding," I said. "But they will not ruin me." And somewhere deep in my bones, a revenge that waited too long began to breathe. Madeline's fingers twitched at Mason's sleeve. "Mason. Stop talking." Her voice wasn't even a whisper anymore, it was a hiss, sharp and frantic. But the room had already shifted. Guests leaned forward. Phones were lowered. The band stopped mid-note. Even the chandeliers seemed to listen. Everyone knew what this moment was. The breaking point. Mason finally looked at me again, defeated, hollow, and shaking. "The business trip," he began, voice cracking. I wasn't alone. My heart pounded so loudly it drowned the room. "Who were you with?" I asked, though a part of me already knew. Madeline closed her eyes, just for half a second, and in that flicker of stillness, the truth exposed itself like a wound. Mason exhaled. It was her. A stunned silence fell so heavy that it felt physical, like a weight pressing down on every chest in the room. Madeline stiffened. "Mason," she whispered. "Please." But he was past saving himself. He ran both hands down his face and finally spoke the words that turned the wedding into a battlefield. "I've been seeing Madeline behind your back for months." My breath caught. Someone gasped. A glass shattered in the distance. My mother whispered, "Oh my God." Even Jonathan, across the room, stiffened in disbelief. But it wasn't over. Not even close. Madeline straightened her spine suddenly, her mask of elegance snapping back on with terrifying ease. "Fine," she said loudly, her voice slicing the tension like a blade. "Yes, Clara. I was with him." Gasps exploded through the hall. "And I don't regret it." She stepped forward, heels clicking like bullets. "You were always the placeholder," she sneered. "The quiet one. The safe one. The girl with no power, no influence, no presence." Her laughter was cruel, echoing off polished floors and hollow hearts. Mason was always going to choose me. I felt something inside me settle. Not break. Not crumble. Settle, heavy and calm and final. Because this wasn't pain anymore. This was clarity. I inhaled slowly. Then I smiled. A small, cutting smile that stopped Madeline mid-breath. "You're right," I said softly. "You've been with him for months." She smirked. "So you admit." "But..." I raised a hand lightly, elegantly, like a queen dismissing a servant. "You're forgetting something." She blinked. The room leaned in. "You might have had him," I said, "but you never had the leverage." Her brows furrowed. "What leverage?" I turned my gaze deliberately, first to Mason, then to her. "The Hale family knows everything." Her face paled. "And they've had evidence against you for a long time." The confusion on her face twisted slowly, deeper, uglier, into fear. "Mason's not the asset you think he is," I continued. "And you." I stepped toward her. "Are not the threat you think you are." Madeline's lips parted. "What evidence? What are you talking about?" But her voice had lost its confidence, cracked around the edges. I motioned to Mrs. Hale, who stepped forward like a queen entering her arena. Her heels hit marble with the full weight of a dynasty behind them. She looked at Madeline with icy disdain. "You targeted our sons, both of them," Mrs. Hale said. "Jonathan first, then Mason. You tried to infiltrate this family from every angle." Madeline froze. Her eyes darted wildly. "This isn't true, you can't prove." "Actually," Mrs. Hale said, "we can." She nodded once. A staff member in a black suit walked forward and handed Mrs. Hale a folder. A thick one. Madeline's face cracked. Inside, Mrs. Hale said, is everything. Your extortion attempts. Your falsified financials. Your harassment pattern. Your threats. Madeline shook her head violently. No. No. That's not possible. It's over, I whispered. Madeline spun toward Mason. "Do something," she shrieked. "Tell them it's fake. Tell them, please." But Mason stepped back. Hands raised. "No," he whispered. "No, Madeline. I'm done lying. You dragged me into this and I let you, and now, you've ruined both of us." She stared at him with hollow disbelief. "You coward." "No," I said softly, "he's just finally telling the truth." The moment everything shifted. Madeline screamed, a sharp, cracking sound, then lunged for the folder. But Mrs. Hale stepped aside effortlessly, watching Madeline collapse onto her knees like a puppet with cut strings. Her makeup streaked. Her hair fell. Her composure died. And the room watched. Every breath. Every tremble. Every collapse. When she finally looked up at me, mascara smeared like bruises beneath her eyes, her voice broke into a whisper. "Please. Clara, don't destroy me." I looked down at her. At the woman who humiliated me. Used me. Played me. Tried to steal my wedding day. My peace. My power. And I thought of the girl I used to be, the one who would have forgiven, compromised, bent until she snapped. But that girl was gone. I crouched down slowly, meeting her tearful gaze. "You destroyed yourself," I said. Then I stood. Turned my back. And the room followed me. The final move. Mrs. Hale placed the folder in my hands. "Do what you wish," she said. Jonathan appeared at my side, eyes full of shame and awe and fear. "Clara. I don't deserve you," he whispered. "No," I said quietly. "You don't." He nodded, accepting the truth like a man finally ready to grow. "This ends tonight," he said. "I'll make it right." But I didn't give him the power to decide anything anymore. I walked to the center of the hall. Lifted the folder. And said, with calm authority that shook every person present. "Remove her from the premises." 2 guards approached. Madeline screamed. Clawed. Begged. But they carried her out, her voice shattering into the night like the last echo of a collapsing empire. After the chaos, after the crowd, after the whispers and the fallout, I stood alone on the terrace, breathing night air that tasted like survival. Jonathan approached slowly. "Clara," he whispered, "I will spend the rest of my life proving I'm worthy of you." I didn't answer that night. Because forgiveness is not owed. It is earned. But one thing was clear. I had walked into that wedding as a bride. I walked out as something else entirely. A woman reborn. A woman who chose herself. A woman no one would ever underestimate again. And that was the real ending. And the real beginning.